This is Mac OS Ken.
Price tags, a price target, and my time at Macstock. It is Saturday. What? What am I even... It is Saturday, the 18th of July, 2026. I'm Ken Ray, and this is news from Mac OS Ken, brought to you by yours truly and sponsored by OneSkin, a new standard for your skin. Try it now with 15% off using code MacOSKen at oneskin.co/MacOSKen. This show is also sponsored by Clean My Mac, keeping Macs running smoothly since 2008. Ever been at crunch time on a project when your Mac gets weird? You got a slide deck to finish, video to cut, a podcast to post. Don't wait for things to get weird. Keep your Mac at the ready with Clean My Mac. Cleaning is where it starts. Clean My Mac finds and gets rid of unneeded system files, hidden clutter, broken downloads, junk that can mess your Mac up. But Clean My Mac does more than that. It's a suite of tools meant to optimize performance, scan for threats and vulnerabilities, update the apps you use, and ditch the apps you do not. Keep your Mac running its best and get tidy today. Try 7 days free and use my code MacOSKen20 for 20% off at clnmy.com/MacOSKen. Make MacOSKen all caps in both places. That way they know where you heard about it and you get the discount. Try 7 days free and use my code MacOSKen20 for 20% off at clnmy.com/MacOSKen. Again, MacOSKen is all caps both places. Use code MacOSKen20 for 20% off at clnmy.com/MacOSKen. Counterpoint Research put out a sort of harrowing infographic last week that I've had sitting in an open tab. According to that, the bill of materials on an iPhone 18 Pro Max with 12 gigabytes of memory and 1 terabyte of storage, just Apple's cost to build that is expected to rise by nearly $300 versus a similarly spec'd iPhone 17 Pro Max. $300. Apple's cost is expected to rise by $300. Memory will be the biggest price driver according to Counterpoint. That's followed by the latest 2nm SoC with its latest packaging. What's weird is the Counterpoint piece doesn't say where storage lands in that ranking of what costs the most. But again, it was an infographic with a few bullet points, not a full post or report. The next camera in the Pro phones did get a shout out. New technology will push its price up slightly, according to the firm. Display and other parts may cost less, according to Counterpoint, but not $300 less. Even with an average $200 retail price rise, Counterpoint says the iPhone 18 Pro Max is still expected to deliver a slightly lower gross margin than the iPhone 17 Pro Max in 2025. I guess the first question I have is, why are we only assuming a $200 price increase? If you think iPhone is the golden egg-laying goose that Apple would not risk disturbing, Friday gave us reason to wonder. Mac Rumors ran a piece at the end of the week that had the Cupertino company raising iPhone prices in Japan. Citing a report from the Spanish blog iPhoneeros, Mac Rumors says prices on iPhone 16, 17e, 17, 17 Pro, 17 Pro Max, and iPhone Air all went up on Apple's online store in Japan. Increases range from 8% to 11.3%, depending on the model. I wondered whether Ragnarok had finally claimed Apple's communicator and whether such increases would roll around the world over the weekend. Could still happen. It's still the weekend.
Ladies and gentlemen, the weekend.
Mac Rumors doesn't think this is the start of that, though. Rather, the site says the increases are likely due to the Japanese yen's depreciation against the US dollar over the past year. Seeming to offer support for that was a post on Note.com. I don't know the person who wrote it, but they say that Apple also raised prices in Japan on AirPods and Apple Watch on Friday. Again, maybe these prices are going up everywhere else any minute now. Maybe it is just adjusting for yen's depreciation against the dollar. It would be cool if Apple said something about it, but you know Wanda. I mean Apple. What Apple did comment on was the price increase for Apple Music and some Apple One bundles in the EU, the UK, and the US. Because that happened Friday as well. To the site Music Business Worldwide we go, where we find individual plans moving from $10.99 to $11.99 in the EU, the UK, and the US. That's the same denominations for their respective currencies. Family plans moving from $16.99 to $19.99, and student plans moving from $5.99 to $6.99. Can Apple One subscribers dodge this bullet? Only if they are by themselves. While Music Business Worldwide doesn't address the bundles, a piece from Mac Rumors on the increases says the price of the individual Apple One plan has not changed, but the family and Premier plans have gone up $2. The family plan is now $27.95 per month, and the Premier plan is $39.95 per month. Brazil's Mac Magazine says similar increases were seen on the same service tiers in that country. As for why, the music business website had Apple being short, and to the point. As a result of rising licensing costs, said the audio streamer on Friday, Apple Music is increasing its subscription price beginning today. Speaking as a consumer, you know what makes all this kind of tough to stomach? It is the headline from the Next Web on Friday. Apple overtakes Nvidia to reclaim the title of world's most valuable company at $4.88 trillion. I mean, shareholders have got to love it, but yeah, speaking of that lot, Apple shares got an upgrade on Friday. Barron's had HSBC analyst Nicholas Collison waking up to Apple now that Apple has woken up to AI in his estimation. According to his note, he and his had retained a cautious approach on Apple with a hold rating. They were more into AI players that could or would exploit the bottlenecks created by the high demand in computing power, including hyperscalers or memory makers. The imminent arrival of Siri AI changes all of that, in his estimation. His note says the innovation gap between Apple and rivals that we see as largely attributable to its delay in the AI race appears finally set to close, with Apple hitting an operational turning point. Barron says Collison excited about Apple leveraging its 2.5 billion installed device base with its coming revamped Apple Intelligence. Not that a lot of those devices will be able to use it, but hey, that's just chances for upgrades. Apple's AI offerings could trigger a strong renewal cycle for users of iPhone Series 15 and 16, according to his note. The way he sees it, this AI boost comes at the right moment when we think Apple has one of the most innovative product pipelines in place. Based on that, the analyst raised his Apple 2027 products revenue estimate by 7% and his services estimate by 5.4%. As for units, either his note didn't address that or Barron's didn't address that part of his note. Whatever the case, Collison is wide awake on Apple now. He used Friday's note to upgrade his rating on the shares from hold to buy. He also raised his price target on the shares from a crazy low $260 to $366. I was at a small conference last weekend. That's where I got this nifty cold I've been sporting. Actually, I probably got that at O'Hare. Anyway, I'll tell you about my time at Macstock in a moment. But first, a word from today's sponsor, OneSkin, a new standard for your skin. When it comes to OneSkin, I focus a lot on OS 1 Face. That's because it has literally changed my face, taking care of dry patches that have bothered me for a long time. I tried other stuff, but OS 1 Face is the OS 1 that worked for me. If you're going to be out in the sun ever, you might want to try OneSkin's Face SPF. It brings the same great skincare benefits with mineral SPF protection to guard against UV exposure. I'm also a fan of the OS 1 Body Moisturizer. It improves skin texture, appearance, and hydration, and that's another one I can attest to personally. My skin got itchy earlier this year. OS 1 Bodies made that better. OneSkin's products are all dermatologist tested, fragrance-free, and suitable for sensitive skin. So if healthier skin is a concern, give OneSkin a try. Start at oneskin.co/macOSken. With over a decade of research behind it, OneSkin's OS 1 peptide is proven to target the visible signs of aging, helping you unlock your healthiest skin now and as you age. For a limited time, try OneSkin with 15% off using code macOSken at oneskin.co/macOSken. That's 15% off oneskin.co with code macOSken. When they ask you where you heard about them, please let them know it was macOSken. Try OneSkin now with 15% off using code macOSken at oneskin.co/macOSken. So I did something weird last weekend. I had lunch with people I had never met before, and dinner with people I had never met before. The reason was the Macstock Conference and Expo in Crystal Lake, Illinois, about 45 minutes outside of Chicago. Kind of started as a party and still retained some of that vibe. Barry Folk wanted to have a barbecue. He wanted to host the friends that he had made from all across the country who used to meet at Macworld every year. Mike Potter wanted to try putting together a conference. And from both of those things was Macstock born. Now officially this was my first time there, though I did do a Bob Hope one time, dropping in for lunch one day a decade ago. It's another thing for another thing. Having actually attended the conference this time, there was lots of great information presented. Talks on video from Mike Schmitz and Doc Rock, spreadsheet tips and tricks from Allison Sheridan, technology caregiving advice from Mike Rose, lots of talk of AI. It is 2026 after all. Being an ever-budding artist, I really appreciated Jeff Gammett's session on making art with an iPad. Bonafide celebrity in the house. David Pogue did a couple of hours on his book, Apple, The First 50 Years. That was everything from stories about Apple to stories about writing the book to getting the whole thing published. Then he signed our books, which was kind of cool. Now, most of that is not the stuff I'm going to take away. While the information presented was great, at its heart, at least in my heart, still the party that Barry wanted to have 11 years ago. The first podcast expo was in 2005. It was in Ontario, California. There was nothing there but 4 hotels, 2 bars, and so many podcasters. There was less drinking at Macstock, but this kind of had that vibe. This was a group of people so dug into learning, sharing, and hanging out around the whole Apple and Mac thing that they made their way across the country to learn, share, and hang out. Except for Martine. Martine flew in from Europe for this. He used to do that for Macworld, too. I go to a fountain pen club every couple of months. It is a very different thing. A lot of people there bring their fountain pens, some stationery, some ink samples maybe. Then they sit quietly in a room with other people and write with their fountain pens. Not all of them, but that is largely what happens. You're in a room with people who are into what you're into, but you're still kind of there by yourself. Maybe that could happen at Macstock, but I'm not sure how that could happen at Macstock. I mean, you'd kind of have to want to be by yourself to be there by yourself. Or to be by yourself there. Now, it was a big enough thing that you're not in one big group. There were people there with whom I didn't speak. At the same time, it was small enough to not be overwhelming. You couldn't get lost in it, again, unless hiding away was what you were trying to do. Now, there is danger in naming names. I'm practically bound to miss somebody, but I saw old friends, including Charles, Linda, Adam, Martine, Doc, Dave, Chuck, Allison, Steve, Jeff, Brett, Mike, John, Guy, David, Cindy, Webb. I'm putting Webb on this list because though we've never met in person, we've been on each other's radar forever. And of course the founders of the feast, Barry Folk and Mike Potter. I also made new friends. Troy, Blair, George, Gary, Chelsea, Steve, Corky, who still owes me a lift, Marty, Norbert, Jill, Chris, Warren, Roger, John, Brian, Pat, Kaylee, Eric. And again, apologies if I missed anybody. I talk about Apple every day. I write about Apple every day. I record a show about Apple every day. A couple of days a week not included. All of that said, I've kind of felt disconnected from the Apple community and the podcast community for a while now. Macstock sort of gave me back that sense of connection. There are worse ways to spend a weekend. macOS Ken, brought to you by me, and sponsored by Clean My Mac. Try 7 days free and use my code MacOSKen20 for 20% off at clnmy.com/MacOSKen. This show is also sponsored by OneSkin, a new standard for your skin. Try it now with 15% off using code MacOSKen at oneskin.co/MacOSKen. Advertising handled by Backbeat Media, online at backbeatmedia.com. You can find me on Mastodon, macosken at mastodon.social. You can also send me an email, info@macosken.com. Until next time, that is news from macOS Ken. I'm Ken Ray.
Ciao.